It is 38 minutes after 11 p.m. Central African time. If you have just joined us, thank you so much for choosing us over the rest. This is African Diaries, Shayla and Dikumana. And joining me in studio is Willem Gous, who is an entrepreneurial thinking expert. And Juliane Haas, who joins us on the line, who is a therapist. Willem, very excited to be here in studio. Thank you so much for joining us in person, while Juliane Haas joins us on the line. Willem, I want to get back to something that we were talking about, so that sort of touched on what Juliane was saying. You said a statement, and it got me I was stunned, to say the least. You said that of the natural, we tend to believe everything we say to ourselves, right? So whatever the context is, whatever the conversation is, Shayla will believe Shayla as long as Shayla is the one saying it to Shayla.
Yeah, and that's in the context of our internal conversation that we have.
Yes.
Like I said to you, you know what, and to add to the conversation that she had, in my work, I found most people have an abusive relationship with themselves. If you listen to their self-talk, what they say to themselves, and I always tell people, here are a few rules. Number one, don't say something to yourself that you wouldn't allow a stranger on the street to say to you.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't imagine somebody walking past you on the street, you don't know them, and they say the most vile stuff to you. You will address them. But how many times do we say such things to ourselves? And that's, for me, the important. We believe these things. Like, yeah, I'm this, I'm that. And Julian can comment on this. There's a great writing exercise you can do, and you just take an A4, just a piece of paper, and start writing, I am, and finish that sentence and start the next one, I am. Just see where it leads. And you will be surprised. It can go negative, positive. It can go places but I've seen very negative places where it goes to like, ooh, okay, this is not healthy.
Juliane, just to touch base on that statement of just letting your mind flow with your belief system around self. What are some of the encounters that you have experienced? Perhaps not of that very same exercise, but something similar to that extent.
I always like to ask my clients, if you would wake up next to someone who would speak to you the way you speak to you first thing in the morning, would you want to be in a relationship with that person? So I definitely agree that we often, the way we speak to ourselves, it sounds a little bit abusive. And a lot of clients do notice that. I like to do a similar exercise where I ask people, who are you? But I ask for 7 minutes, 8 minutes, 9, 10 minutes over and over again. And often what comes out that after the first set encounters with how we see ourselves, people have a lot that they can connect with, because often the deeper we dig, the more we find things that we also like about ourselves. And potentially what I think is also helpful is to connect with the people who really love us, because oftentimes there is someone who believes in us. And I love to really take people to the place of, who is it that believes in you? Who is it that really loves you? Who is it that showed up for you no matter what you did and no matter what you got wrong? And that, to me, is a starting point to change the relationship to ourselves. And that's also a place that we can always go back to, that person who really loved us, because then it also sounds really different. Because if I start working with clients and I ask them, what do you want to change in your life? Oftentimes what you actually get is a checklist, like a self-improvement plan. People think if I change everything and I'm just doing things as great as I can, I'm getting everything right, and I'm losing weight and I'm going to the gym and I'm doing that and that, then I will eventually be happy. But it doesn't work like that. It really doesn't work like that. So tapping in and connecting with the person that sees value in you, whether you achieve or whether you had a bad day, for me is much more promising. And you can always remind yourself of that.
Willem, I'm going to turn to you, and we are going to look at this interesting fact that I recently learned. Your brain does not reward progress, it rewards repetition. So a great chunk of your thinking is on automation.
Oh, absolutely.
And your brain loves that because automation means that that's safe, right? I want us to also go back to the example that we started with, walking on fire. And I want to contextualize that in the African context to say that a lot of the things that we go through as Africans pertaining to finance, building wealth, just our current pockets where we find ourselves, employment, all of those feel like beds of fire that we need to walk across, right? And we have spent a lot of time walking, or rather sticking to the negative. So you've spent your whole entire, I want to say primary, high school, part of your career life, thinking that firstly, I'm not good enough to start a business. I'm not good enough to go there. So we've already created a reward system that our brain is willing to take in, right? Which is the negative. When we are changing from looking at these beds of fire as danger as compared to looking at them as opportunity, what are some of the things that you say to your clients that we can take from who are scared to walk on that bed, who look at that bed and they're like, Willem, you want to kill me? You want to hurt me? I'm not doing this. I'd certainly be one of those. What do you say to them that we can now take as words of counsel and employ when trying to rethink the context of the African continent?
It's how you frame it. It's absolutely how we frame it. And usually I see when we walk on the fire, ask yourself, what are the things that I believe stand in my way? And me walking over it is a symbol of me burning those limiting beliefs. Yes, it's how you frame things. And that creates that anchor. And you can frame it in any which way you want. Make it an interesting story. I usually have my son at the end, not that he's always there with a firewalk, but I imagine him at the end of the runway going like, Dad, I believe in you, I love you. And then I walk across and anything can stand in my way and I get over there. But I like that. But that burning needs to start at the parent level if you want to change something in Africa. Something Juliane said very early on relating to parents and the beliefs that I hold. And me being a mischievous little bastard, always love poking a bear. And when I speak to parents, I say, you can only give your child that which you have. All the great things, your good manners, your style, your social finesse that you have, as well as the bad things. If you can't work with money, your child won't be able to work with money. If you can't do this, there. So I think we need to start asking the parents in Africa, the elders, to start looking, okay, what do we need to change? Because children don't learn from learning, they learn from watching. And if I see mom and dad just spending money on depreciating assets, then that's how we do things. Yeah, and that's why I'm actively working I buy my kids books on money, they have money rules, they have everything. I educate them on the things that I'm not good at. And I'm actively working at that.
Sure. Juliane, just on that note, I want to talk about the power of repetition. So I have been watching a few videos, and there's a particular psychologist who spoke about how the brain is far more appreciative of repetition than it is of anything else, right? A state of repetition that does not seem harmful is more exciting to the brain than progress that might come across as harmful. And so with that in mind, and just as Willem was ending, the tail end of his statement, which is children learn by what they see. Just in your experiences with the African context, how do we begin to help parents reframe what it is they're teaching their children? Because their children aren't necessarily taking the books they learn in school saying, who's going to carve me and create who I am, as Willem rightfully said. They're watching their parents who are also trying to find their way in life, but feel like the world is on my shoulders. You want me to be a good parent, go to the gym, do Pilates, drink matcha that everybody says is just awful. You want me to do all these fascinating, beautiful things, but I wasn't trained. That wasn't my repetition. That wasn't what I experienced. And so I'm at a catch-22 where I'm expected to be new for the newer generation, but I too am struggling to get to this new. So maybe let's tangibly talk to parents at this stage.
Yeah, first things first, I think, especially in the African context, it doesn't necessarily have to be a parent. I think the early research in psychology focused on the mom, then the research became parents, but we actually know that it needs to be an attachment figure. And I think this is also something that I've seen with my friends when I came to South Africa. It's really beyond the core family, and there is something that even if your parents can't fulfill a certain role, they can connect you to, or you can connect yourself to another family member, to another elder, to another member of the community that can play that role. And that's why I also always say not every person that raises you needs to be that healthy relationship or that secure attachment, as long as you experience it, as long as you connect to it, as long as you see it. That, of course, that's very, very important for me first to say that I don't think it always have to be the parents. And I think that also gives us new opportunities in how we live our lives to say, and I often like to do that activity with clients. What have your parents not taught you? There's a poem I love where they also speak about all the things that our parents forgot to teach us because they didn't know it. And from there, we can say, where else can you learn that? Where else can you connect to that? And I believe there are a lot of people around us where we can learn it from. And yes, it can come from books from parents, but it can also be through other people in our lives. And I think there's a wealth of wisdom around us if we connect to people of different ages, different backgrounds, people around us who can teach us what we don't know yet or can help us to see that.
I love what you're saying there. That just echoes what Willem was saying, which is for what you can't teach, lead to better influence, and for what you can do, teach. Willem, we're going to end with a tail ending. You had mentioned something very interesting. You said that you partner with like-minded individuals and you spend time with them intentionally. I want this to be an address to people who are listening, who want to become better. They're saying, I hear all the fundamentals. Rewire your brain, address the issue, recognize the emotional state, the cognitive state, the doing stuff. But I feel like my crowd doesn't speak to the change I want to see. What do you say to them?
And that's a very difficult situation. The fact that you realize it, well done, kudos. That is a good sign of awareness on that. And you need to curate the people that you surround yourself with. And my friend group, they wouldn't really get along with each other. So I see each one individually, not together, because I get something else from each and every one. Each one plays a role, and it's highly curated. And I stand corrected, and I think it was Jim Rohn who said, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most amount of time with. Now, is it true or not? I know. If you hang around with broke people, you're going to be the 5th of 6th broke person. Okay? So hang around with people who inspire you and take you to a next level. But that you need to make a decision, and that comes into the agency. That's where entrepreneurial thinking is so important. Because so many people believe that they don't have agency. I don't have any influence. I can only go with the flow. I can make no difference, but you can make a difference in your life. And always focus on what you control, and what you can control, saying yes or no to spend time with people. I'm an Afrikaans speaking person. I'm supposed to love rugby. if you, please don't call me and invite me for a barbecue and watching rugby. Please, I would rather crawl over Lego blocks than do that. And it's to say no, and no is a full sentence. It's not no because no is a full sentence. Just go like, do you want to come? And no. They ask why? No. And it's difficult. It's not easy. But take small steps. Ask yourself, I always tell people, it's so easy to program people's minds. And Juliane, I apologize for the very simple example, but I'm going to put something in your mind, in everybody's mind who listen to this. Do not think of a pink elephant.
Nope.
Okay, so everybody's thinking about that. Now, before you watch a YouTube video, ask yourself, do I want this in my mind? When you have a conversation with somebody, you can look at the conversation and give it back to them. You don't have to make it your own. So start becoming selective with the people, the information, and the knowledge that you allow into your mind. Because most of the time, I know exam knowledge doesn't stick, but it seems everything else sticks.
Juliane Haas, just as a parting shot, we are pressed for time. Quickly, just to speak to the reality that you won't get it right at the first time, because now we have the knowledge and we think we can conquer and we think we're going to execute everything perfectly. Let's just address the reality that failure is imminent, but it's not that you can't do it. It's part of the process.
Yeah, because what really matters is how you feel about life, and that you care and that you connect with others and that you feel alive. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that you do things perfectly. I was actually on the hike, we were discussing that sometimes the price you pay for perfection is joy and a sense of being alive. So please don't turn personal growth into another self-improvement project. It's not about being better than others at doing this personal growth journey, right? But feeling better about yourself and feeling like you're taking steps in a direction that make you feel comfortable. And it's always easy to see what's not working around us and who's not supporting us. Definitely there are those individuals, but we have something in my line of training that we call the differential hypothesis, to always say, but where is it different? Where do you feel supported? Where do you feel alive? Where do you feel seen? And turn to those people, turn to those moments, and turn to those parts inside you where you really feel amazing and you feel good enough, and then you take it from there. That's what I really believe in.
Juliane, Willem, this has been an absolute pleasure. You have both rounded us up well toward the end of this Rewire Your Mind for Success conversation. I believe that this has to be studied in actual fact for a good 3 to 5 years in order to implement with grace. Again, thank you both for joining me this evening. Juliane, it has been a pleasure. Willem, thanks again. It is 4 minutes before the show comes to an end. I know that Morris Touch of the Afro Republic is on the other side of the line. So we're going to take a quick breather, then we get back into conversations with Morris Touch.